we can definitely talk about that is going on in the world of MMA right now. Obviously, it's big news. Conor McGregor is literally going to come back, and there's an actual date, an opponent, and a time. And not only that, just a solid, sorry, a solid date with an opponent in mind, which is obviously Michael Chandler. We've known for a long time that this fight was going to happen. Now it's finally happening, and as a result, it's going to be asking a lot of questions, right? Because is Conor McGregor ready or not? It's hard to say. We know that he's done therapy. We know that he's taken the proper rest. We know that he's even taken certain supplements to enhance his recovery. But the problem is, will it be enough? And is it too soon? And if it's not too soon, then when is the right time for Conor McGregor to come back before he deteriorates based on the lack of experience and the ring rust that he's going to accumulate as a result of it? So this is something that we really have to try to understand in Conor McGregor's career trajectory moving forward. Also, another thing I really want to talk about is really building hype in the fight game because you look at the women's division right now. Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes are probably the biggest fight to make right now. You want to know why? For the simple fact that Amanda Nunes has a big name, even though she wasn't the biggest pay per view star during her times of even just co headlining championship pay per views. There was only one time she really main evented an entire fight card. The rest of them, she was placed as a co main event or some sort of co headliner of some sort, right? But still, now that she's retired, she's a big name. Kayla Harrison has already been an Olympic gold judoka, has done it twice. On top of that, a former PFL champion. We've seen that she's had some deficiencies, even with one of her losses in the PFL, but nonetheless a big name. So bringing her and Amanda Nunes together does nothing but build hype. Now you look at someone like Raquel Pennington, who's the current champion right now. Do you really have the full confidence and steam roll ahead to know that, you know what? Oh, I'm going to drop everything that I'm going to do on a Saturday to go watch Raquel Pennington fight? Says absolutely nobody. And that's not a disrespect or a knock on anyone. Thoughts on the matter, Daddy? I don't understand your question. If you're going to come here and comment, you're going to have to, yeah, just saying hi, just lurking. Hi, your buddy says lurking in the background, but we'll be able to chat soon. Good to see you all. All right. Thank you for tapping in. So we got some of the regulars in the house now. So building hype is a very important thing that you need to do in the fight game. And again, this is also something that's very important that you need to do also in the world of YouTube. As of late, I've gotten a few mentions. Let me play you a couple of them right now. This is Dubs. So, who Dubs is, he mentioned me on YouTube, right? He is what you would call, I guess, a crime drama YouTuber, or better yet, known as the prison genre. So Dubs shouts me out. He says, "You know what? Kyrie recommended UFC 300 to me. And you know what? It did not disappoint. So if you are one of those people that recommended UFC 300, rest assured you didn't disappoint anyone. Look at this."
UFC 300. So I paid the $80, and I had fun. Hey, you know what? Hey, that fight between the two Chinese women, Kyrie was the one that told me that I had to.
Right here. Yep. Right here. This is what he said right here.
Kyrie was the one that told me that I had to watch UFC 300. So I paid the $80, and I had fun. Hey, you know what? Hey,
Yep. See, right there, he mentions my name.
He's like, yeah, he kicked me in my nuts, but watch this.
This guy served life, by the way, and
Kyrie
got out.
Was the one that told me that I had to watch UFC 300. So I paid the $80, and I had fun. Hey, Holmes, you know what? Hey, that fight between the two Chinese women, oh, that motherfucker was.
So there it is. Going out there recommending the best fights out there to different genres of people. Check out Dubs, by the way. You could tap in on his YouTube. He does prison channels. He talks about doing life in prison and got out. By the way, this guy had on his record, shot at somebody. Okay, so he's a real one at that. So I'm quite a regular in his, in his lives and whatnot. So he shouts me out. He helps out the channel. So I helped him have a fun Saturday night. He went out and basically paid for the card. I'm sure a lot of you out there did not pay for the card, but you know exactly what I mean. And we're not going to talk about in full detail what that is. But obviously, if you're a little bit older, yes, you're going to be more likely to pay for the fights. Whereas when you're a little bit younger, you're going to be tech savvy and you're going to get to know how to maneuver your way around getting to watch all the fights that are out there that are scheduled every week and fights that are behind a paywall, knowing how to get around it. You know what I mean. Nonetheless, so other channels have mentioned me. Obviously, I did the Jake Shields and the conservative podcast content that I did on my video section. That's literally the latest one that I have right now. So obviously, a little context to that. Got into it with a conservative podcast host or whatever. Yeah, nothing too serious or anything like that, but obviously a bit heated, right? So here's what I got to say about that, right? You got to understand when it comes to a conflict like Israel and Palestine, you're going to really garner a lot of not negative attention, but strong emotions, and with good reason, right? So I'm gonna show you a little bit of the appearance that I've made, I guess, on his show right here.
Conversation with people.
Hold on a second. Watch this. Here's another mention of my channel.
I had a lot of people reach out to me and tell me that there was a reaction.
This was from the Don't Unfriend Me uh, podcast that responded to the video that I have out right now on my video section.
Video from the weekend when I did the show on Israel and Iran, and I guess during my time of going after Kyrie a little bit, that he has his own YouTube channel and he decided to go ahead
and don't forget to like and subscribe to that YouTube channel as I'm, I guess, making an impact on other channels that are beyond MMA.
On, I don't care. I said what I wanted to say. I'm sure he said what he wanted to say. If it's going to carry on from there, he knows where I live, and I'm sure that if he took umbrage with it, that I'm a 50-year-old man, and let's see if youth wins. Otherwise, I don't take it any other way. He had some things to say. I had some things to say, and it's over. I talked a little shit. He talked some shit, and I'm moving on. So, well, and if he doesn't want to move on, he knows the number. He can call in, dial into the show. But I'm not going to go watch his video. I'm not going to go and hawk him down. He has every right to say what he wants to say, and I have every right to call him a jerk. And I did that. So he's a jerk. But it doesn't mean I don't love him. It doesn't mean I don't like him. I actually like the guy quite a bit. I think two-facedness is not a good look on anybody. So that's it. Just that's all. It's over. And if it's not, we're gonna find out. You know my number. See ya. Let's listen.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's really just what it is when people have a certain disagreement, especially with a hot topic issue like that. You're always going to garner not only negative attention but also strong emotion. So as a result, just understand it for what it is, and people are going to feel what they feel. And by the way, I'm also going to play another thing that sort of gives you a bit of more context as to why certain people can have such strong emotions about these things, because we don't know what other people experience, right? So if we don't know what other people experience, then it's easy for us to dismiss, oh, well, you're just being sensitive, or you're just being too soft on this particular issue, or you're, just, I guess, sometimes even going hard at someone, right? Sometimes that can garner a lot of negative feelings and resentment from you. But moving on from that, right? This is more of basically what You sort of contextualized from the video, right? Because obviously I didn't play the whole entire thing. And by the way, just putting it out there in context, yeah, I agree with him. It's absolutely all over, right? But I'm gonna play it one more time so I can give you, I guess, another life lesson onto understanding why certain people feel the way they do about certain topics, right? And it's not any reason to go hate anyone. It's not any reason to have any resentment towards anyone. You have to understand that people are going to be their own opinions based on their own experience. And therefore, well, I'll give you a little context right here. This was basically from after I was still responding to him when the video that I didn't really play in the entirety. So I guess you could call this the part three aspect of it, right? Because I did the video with the Jake Shields and that podcast, but I also did another live on the UFC 300 live stream, the post reaction that I did. Anyways, right here to people.
Do you find this entertaining? Do you find that this is a show for me? Do you think that I'm
So
just
what I was saying was that, yeah, obviously one of the aspects that sort of got Matt upset was being called an entertainer. And that I understand. But the way that I view it versus the way that, let's say, anybody who has a content that is super real, right? Real to where you're talking about dire consequences. Obviously, Dubs, the guy that shouted me out, right? As he had shouted me out in his channel, he's a prison channel. The guy did life and shot at somebody, got out due to the prison programs that we had out here in California that released a lot of certain inmates. And as a result, guess what? He now has a YouTube channel and he shouts me out just like this, right? And I'm just saying that these are real channels. That channel with Matt, the Don't Unfriend Me show, the conservative show, that's a real channel. Obviously, this is a guy that has served in the Navy and has worked in naval intelligence, so he's seen some real things, right? So that to be called an entertainer sometimes I guess can be offensive. But here's Dubs, that prison channel that I was telling you about, me recommending him UFC 300.
Kyrie was the one that told me that I had to watch UFC 300, so I paid the $80, and I had fun. Hey, you know what? Hey, that fight between the two Chinese women. Oh,
So there it is, right? Making an impact. So, okay, moving on from the Jake Shields topic, obviously, right, with Matt from the Don't Unfriend Me show, right? Again, this is just to give you a bit of some context as to why certain people are going to have different opinions on things, and that's just what it is. So here it is.
generally upset with you, or that I'm putting on a show?
After responding of calling him quote unquote an entertainer.
Because I just think you're a dick.
And again, I welcome that notion. If you think somebody is a DICK, well, you got to understand they're doing something right. Because guess what? I got to tell you, YouTube is YouTube. Uh, I'm not saying that I'm fabricating anything or there's anything that's being unreal or anything like that. Not at all. What I'm merely saying is that this is a world where you have to turn up the volume a little bit in order to garner a certain level of attention. You have to be very not boisterous, but loud enough so that people can hear your message, right? Hiya Buddy says, do you mean in all of fighting or just MMA? I would say Chavez Senior if you mean any combat sports. What do you mean by that question? If you can elaborate a little bit, Hiya Buddy. Oh, the H asks, who is the best Latino fighter ever? In of all time in boxing, well, I'll say Canelo, right? Obviously, Canelo is in that list. When it comes to MMA, best Latino fighter of all time, I would have to give that one to Alex Pereira right now, right? Obviously, you would consider Alex Pereira Latino, being Brazilian, being a native of that land. On top of that, I think that qualifies him as that, unless, of course, by Latino you mean only people that come from Spanish-speaking countries. With that, yeah, that would be a little bit harder to answer because there's plenty of them in MMA in particular. But moving on from the
And I think it's high time that somebody called you out.
so yeah, he called me a dick and this and that. Listen, it's everybody has their own way of expressing themselves, right? If you think I'm a dick or whatever, that's on you. But obviously, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have a different opinion on you. Some people are going to say, "Hey, you know what? I had a real pleasant time with him. He was very nice, very very cordial," and that could mean a whole bunch of different things. Or maybe somebody is mean or a dick because maybe they've seen some things, or maybe they're just not going to play the BS with anybody.
I do admit it's a Roman word. Then that completely.
When I admitted to him that yes, the word Palestine and Palestine is a Roman word, but in a way, he's still trying to dismiss the fact that people are being misplaced out of their homes and things of that nature. That's a reality that you can't escape from, right? But again, different people are going to have their own different views of things, and he's going to further elaborate, and you'll find out where that is if you stay tuned.
Disproves every fucking thing you just said. Should we go ahead and blow up Iran since it wasn't Iran, it was Ariane?
So he's basically trying to make a point as to, well, none of these places have their own sense of origin of some sort. But
should we blow them up too? Should we kill all Iranians?
Let me speed this one up.
Because it was Aryan, and certainly not from the Nazis. Although Iran had Nazi influence in its country, and they were supported from oil and other types of things to Nazi Germany, but no, Aryan.
Yes, that's true. Iran was supported by Germany in World War II. Also, believe it or not, Palestine as well. That's the reality, yes.
Were those countries. Should we kill them? Is it not their land? Should we go in and start slaughtering them? Should we call them dirty Iranians? Instead of calling them with a K, we'll call them Ikes instead? Should we go ahead and, like, I don't know, have a Holocaust for Iranians and throw them in pits and gas them, incinerate them, round them up and put them in camp?
So this is the point that you really have to understand, right? Why certain people are going to be, I guess, concerned about your opinions, because they believe that when you have these certain opinions, there's some historical context behind it that can somehow take them back to making those tragic realities come true based on these set of sequences of events.
Yeah, put gold stars on and tattoo them. Is that what you want to do? No, according to your logic, if you were on the map by 1940, you don't deserve life. Is that what you're saying?
So this is what he's responding to in terms of Jake Shields saying that Israel should not be a state at all, right? This is basically him responding to Jake Shields saying that.
Because then Iran's gone, bro. What about the United Arab Emirates? Should we take them out too? The Amorites deserve nothing. They changed their name. We should kill them all. Anybody who's not Mesopotamia, you're out of here. You're all dead. You're eradicated from the earth. Mel, has there been a Canadian province?
So this is the point, obviously, that he's trying to make with the argument of what we had going on. But yeah, continue on.
It's been renamed in the last 100 years. Please tell me David Hasselhoff is there. Can we go ahead and just take the entire eastern side of Germany and just obliterate those people? Because post-World War II, we had West Germany and East Germany. Well, that's not on the map anymore, so let's just kill all of them too. Former Yugoslavia? Blow them up. Turkmenistan? Fuck you. Your name doesn't match what it was. You all need to die. See, the difference between you and me, Kyrie, whatever the fuck your name is there is a difference between intelligence and education.
And here's the thing about that. I 100% agree with that notion. There is a difference between intelligence and education. But again, this is not to try to invoke any type of flames or anything like that. The reality is that how do you know when one person doesn't use it or when they don't use it? Or when they do use it, actually? How do you know when a person's actually using it as opposed to not using it just based on a certain opinion or worldview that they have? That's just what I question. Is that if there's any validity to that, but moving on.
And education is useless without the ability to formulate it and deduce it deductively.
To
If
deduce
you
it
can't
deductively.
disseminate what
Okay.
you learn and you can't learn from the mistakes you made based upon the presumptions that you make, that is not intelligent.
So in other words, admit when you're wrong rather than trying to stick to your guns. I think, yeah, I think that's a given.
You know just enough to be fucking terrifying. You know just enough to be scary and very dangerous. You very much
I'll take that as a compliment, honestly. Listen to that again.
in the last 100 years. Please tell me David Hasselhoff is there. Name doesn't match what it was. You all need to die. Is he your idol because you sound just like to formulate it and
Right here,
deduce
right
it
here.
deductively?
This
If you can't disseminate what you learn and you can't learn from the mistakes you made based
so what he's about to say right here, I'll 100% take as a
upon the
compliment. Right
presumptions
here,
that
the
you
next
make,
one.
that is not intelligent. You know just enough to be fucking terrifying.
He says I'm terrifying.
You know just enough to be scary
He says
and
I'm
very
scary.
dangerous.
He says I'm
You very
dangerous.
much remind me of the people who are running around and saying shit about Zionism and the Rothschilds. You remind me of Jake Shields.
Okay, so here's something I want to say about that, right? Are there people out there that go out and say, "Oh my goodness, there's these people that are ruling the world, these lizard people or this and that." There are people out there. I don't ascribe to that. I ascribe to the idea and the thought process that, you know what, you have the power to negotiate your own life without anybody stopping you from whatever goals you're trying to do. I believe in that ethos 100%. There are people out there that believe, well, because there are certain people that are in Hollywood or certain people that run Hollywood or run a certain sector of a certain industry, that somehow I'm never going to make it because I'm just going to have that loser's mentality and just give up. Right? No, I don't ascribe to that. Are there people out there that believe that, yes, a particular failure that they may have experienced in life had something to do with some nefarious force that's as far as Tel Aviv? Yes, there are people out there that think that, but I'm not one of those people. And he believes that people who think like that are, quite frankly, dangerous in his view, based on the fact that they have certain rhetoric that could lead to dangerous outcomes or backlashes or reprisals towards certain people. And this is where he's getting at.
And maybe that's who you emulate because that fucking guy is an MMA who hates Jews.
So he's talking about Jake Shields. Okay, he's comparing me to Jake Shields because somehow he thinks that being part of this MMA community or being around the same guys that have trained with him before and being in the same area, somehow this is the reason why we have all this worldview. No, what he fails to understand sometimes, and again, this is just with anybody that's not experienced in being in an MMA gym all day, is that there are people of different backgrounds that are in these gyms, and also they conversate with different ideas and different political ideologies, different ethos, and different political leanings. And this is a reality of boxing and MMA gyms that a lot of people who don't train on a regular basis may not know.
Is he your idol because you sound just like him? And
Not quite an idol, but there was a point where, man, I thought Jake Shields was the best fighter in the world. And when he came into the UFC, I thought this would be a great opponent for George St. Pierre because at the time, George St. Pierre was dominating everybody, right? Taking everybody down, taking them to the distance or out jabbing them. And then in comes Jake Shields, this new particular challenge to the UFC's 170 division, and in particular the same era that George St. Pierre was ruling. So yeah, man, if you were from Northern California, man, Jake Shields was your guy. You wanted to see him come and bring the belt back to this part of the world.
the thing about Jake Shields is he only understands the history up until 1940. Now,
So maybe there's something to that, right? we do have to understand there is history in Palestine and Israel that is beyond 1940. And again, depending on who you ask, there are some negatives and positives when it comes to the outcomes of, let's say, Muslims or Jewish people that are within that region, depending on who you ask. And I think it's only fair to point that out.
1938. If you ask him anything that predates that, he doesn't know anything about it. He can't tell you anything about Mesopotamia. He can't tell you anything about the Jesuits. He can't tell you anything about the Persians. He can't do any of it. And you can't either. So let me do you a solid. I'm going to give you a stay of execution. You go ahead, if you would be so kind, and say the following. I was a dick. I was judgmental. Don't even apologize.
Yeah, I'll gladly say it. Yeah. Was I judgmental? Absolutely. There's a certain time where you really have to put your foot down and judge by what is the apparent. And as a Muslim, this is what you have to do. So if you say that I was judgmental, yes. Is there a harsh way in the way that I deliver it? Absolutely. Do I apologize for any of it? You said it yourself. I don't have to. And I think I'm going to stick by that.
I don't want your apology. Shove it up your ass. Just say I was a dick and I was judgmental. And if you put I was wrong on there, then you're good with me. Even if you don't, you're still good with me.
Is it wrong to be a dick? Yes. But is it warranted at times? Yes. I don't think we're here to debate which of those times were used, nor is it necessary. But yeah,
dick, I was judgmental. That would be a nice thing. That's all you got to do, because that's the truth.
if that's the truth, you can't really be offended by the truth, right? As they say, the truth can't be offensive. And as Muslims, we seek the truth, so it shouldn't be offensive to any of us. Harshness is sometimes a reality in certain instances, and other people's perception really doesn't matter when you have your own mission statement in mind. Something you really got to think about.
And then you and I'll buy you a beer. We'll be good. But until then,
Brother, I don't drink, brother. Brother, I don't drink. But okay, you know what I mean.
We're not okay. I've trained with Jake. Well, something rubbed off. And if it wasn't chlamydia.
Yeah, look, nothing rubbed off. Who you train with really does not matter, right? Because to be at least not in the way that your personality is forming in any type of way, right? When you are trying to train with the best in the world, you're going to run across with different people and different political views and different looks of life. That's just what it is. That's the reality of it. And again, he's trying to make correlation with causations and things of that nature, but
it's something else. We live in the same area. Good. So next time you talk to him, tell him I said I can't kick his ass because I would fight him from 1,000 yards.
so this is something that I notice a lot of military guys always say about other MMA fighters, right? And you've probably seen Sean Strickland get into it with some Navy SEALs. By the way, check out that video that I did with Sean Strickland where I basically went to Oak Park, which is the hood ran by none other than Mozzie, the rapper, out here in Sacramento. It was cool. Got to run across some homies in that particular street while I was talking about Sean Strickland. It was like a Friday afternoon after Friday prayers, so it's quite a interesting video for you guys to check out sometime. But yeah, a lot of military guys, they always make up these excuses when they know that they can't beat up an MMA fighter. They'll say something along the lines, well, you know that I can shoot, right? Or you know that I can shoot good, or this and that. And I mean, come on. Must you say the obvious though?
If I ever had to fight him, I'd fight him with a 308 from 1,000 yards. But tell him I told him to go fuck himself. Will you do that for me?
Again, telling a man to do that, I think has a lot of emotional fallacy just based on the fact that it is only just an opinion that this man has, and these are the type of emotions that you're evoking out of this person. But anyways,
Please tell Jake Shields that Matt from Virginia tells him, from white Virginia with no Jews, that I told him to go fuck himself. Will you do that for me, please? Thank you. And while you're at it, you can do it too. Jake isn't limited. Jake is
I basically said that, listen, you got to understand, we may not know the same information as you. Maybe the limited information that Jake has is the reason why you have this disagreement with him. That's basically what I said, and this is his
a
response to that.
fucking bigot.
So he's saying that Jake Shields is a bigot, right? And here's why. But I'm also going to explain some of his side of the story of why he's really compelled to feel this strongly, especially towards Jake Shields and anybody that sort of shares this particular opinion.
And he's doing it for clicks because he is completely immaterial, and he's outlasted his stay in the MMA. He's worthless.
Here's the thing, right? This is very common whenever, let's say, a past fighter or a player of any sport that, let's say, is not doing good. For example, Colin Kaepernick, right? Obviously, Colin Kaepernick, I'm not saying that I agree with his protests, nor do I think that it works in any kind of way, but he felt that he wanted to protest police brutality. Okay, well, that's his right to wanting to do that. But it's always being downplayed by his current performance. It's always going to be like that. So obviously, Jake Shields, the way that he left MMA, he left the UFC, went into the PFL, got beat by a few guys on the way out, but still continued his grappling career. He did pro grappling fights, whether it was in Abu Dhabi or whether it was in UFC Fight Pass or whether it's just coaching guys. So the idea that Jake Shields failed because of, let's say, his career, well, man, he was a former world champion in other organizations, fought George St. Pierre in one of the biggest cards of the UFC, and as a result, now is a successful coach. And again, it's very hard to measure what success means in MMA.
And he doesn't have an identity without it. So
you can still have an identity even after you fight. And by the way, this is the reason why a lot of guys go into coaching, managing, and owning gyms, because who you were once is something that you never will change about you. If you're a fighter, you're always going to be a fighter. So you may do it in a different way even when you're done actually competing, right? So again, I think fighters and martial artists in general, I think have the least likely to have an identity crisis based on whether they're doing the sport or actually not doing the sport.
He's decided to go ahead and hate Jews for clicks, just like a lot of people have.
Well, here's the thing. We don't know if this is really how he feels or if he's really doing it for clicks. Now, in all honesty, I don't, man, I'm just going to go out of my limb and say I don't think Jake is doing this out of just pure disingenuous dishonesty in any kind of way or virtue signaling, right? I think there are people out there that actually do have a concern for Palestine and the issues that are going on there and the fact that people are in rubbles or in tough situations. I think this is the part where he may have a misunderstanding to how other people feel about sympathizing towards other people's suffering.
Just like we see Candace Owens doing, just like we see Tucker Carlson doing. And I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. You can call out Jews. I don't care. Call out Netanyahu. Call out him. Call out Bibi. Call out Mossad. The Jews aren't perfect, just like every country, and they deserve to be challenged. But
So this is the part where he does understand there is a certain challenge that you should take, right? Especially as an American citizen, where it is your God-given right for freedom of speech to be able to express these things. But I think he's also expressing a certain concern that he has, and this is the point that I'm trying to make at the end of it.
because not everything they do is Star Spangled Awesome. Oh, single star awesome. Okay? Star of David awesome.
So, in other words, no country is perfect. Fair enough, that's true.
But when you start saying all Jews are, every Jew is.
So, in other words, generalization, right? Now, am I the type of person that would fall into generalization? Absolutely not. I believe in nuances. I don't put people in a box. I've seen all different types of people around the world, in terms of people with variations of personality, variations of different affiliations, and again, just overall nuances that really takes a complex mind to understand. So I'm not the type to really fall into generalization. Now, is he saying that Jake Shields falls into this? Yes, he wants to believe that because he doesn't like the guy. But do I think so? In my humble opinion, no. But if I'm wrong, well, somewhere down the line, there's going to be proof that I'm wrong about that. But so far, Jake hasn't really showed that other than just criticism towards the Zionist government or the government of Israel, and everything seems in line with just somebody that has concerns towards government that they want to criticize.
The Zionists, the dirty blanks, those
Is he saying that Jake Shields had said all this? That I don't know.
moppy-headed, rat-infested, sewer-dwelling blanks. It's no longer about Jews. It's no longer about the government. It's no longer about Israel. It's about a people who are different than you and believe in something. And I will tell you this, people like me will never fucking allow people like you and Jake Shields to breathe again. Because if you try to fucking kill Jews, if you try to kill Mexicans or blacks or Arabs or whatever,
Yeah, I don't think Jake Shields or myself or anybody in mixed martial arts really has any of those opinions where they want to eradicate one specific people. Now, he probably believes that Jake Shields wants to do this to a certain group of people, but the reality is, can we just agree that perhaps maybe Jake Shields has a certain criticism towards a government? But what line is it that he sees that sort of makes him look like, well, he's crossed the line in this one in terms of possible incitement towards a genocide of some sort? And then one can also make that argument about people on the Palestinian side. And again, this is where this particular argument truly gets messy.
I promise you, in this day and age, people will never let it happen again because people like my grandmother.
This right here, for those that are staying and watching this, shout out to you because you really want to learn something, right? This right here is where I think he really hammers it home in terms of why he's motivated to express himself in this kind of way. And I think this is really important in terms of a lesson in understanding and empathizing with other people that you don't agree with.
Told us the stories of what took place. We got to go to Warsaw. We got to go to Auschwitz. We got to see what happened. We got to see the claw marks. We got to smell the stench that's still there because it's so thick and it's so putrid.
So I want you to understand this, right? He's describing what his family seen in World War II. Very tragic. But could you also make the argument that those same tragedies that the Palestinians are currently facing right now are equal and in the same, right? And again, this is where you really have to ask yourself, this is where we can relate to all these tragedies on both sides.
It is just desecrated the land and permeated every inch of those areas. And anyone that goes there, it still looks like a wasteland. So no, I don't think I will. Because I don't care if it's Muslims who I've defended. I don't care if it's Christians. I don't care if it's Gentiles. I don't care if they're gay, lesbian, straight, transgender. You have no right to judge and try to take somebody's individual liberties away, no matter how much you disagree with them. And people like me will die trying to stop you and fuckers like Jake Shields from doing it. This isn't about Jews. It's not about Muslims. Because if you had been over there and you had done the things, you would know that this is just stupid. That all of this is stupid. Because the one thing that all of these religions believe.
Here's where it really hammers home, where I think we can sort of universally agree.
No matter if you're a Buddhist, no matter Orthodox or a Baptist or a Lutheran or a Mormon, Catholic, hell, you can study the Necronomicon if you want to. Every single one of them says that the time on earth here is a fleeting moment.
So, in other words, our life here on earth is temporary, which is exactly what it is, right? You can spend all your time bickering and arguing with other people, or you can get on with your life, do something productive, but also do something lovely for the world in order for it to be a better place and in order for it to be a place of peace upon you, but also creating even more peace in your afterlife when you leave this earth. So again, this is a very beautiful relation and universal language that we all understand from all different faiths, cultures, backgrounds, etc.
That eternity is after this life. And why we spend so much time hating and killing and destroying each other over it makes no fucking sense, because nobody is going to inherit this.
And I agree with that 100%. I mean, hit it on the nail right there.
Nobody's going to get Earth. Nobody's going to.
I must have missed something. This man is a bit ridiculous. An extreme war is always terrible, always. But is a bit ridiculous. An extreme war is always terrible, always. But I promise the day after 9/11, he was thinking differently. Yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I mean, again, we all have different experiences into why we think the way that we do, right? So
Get this land. This isn't what's promised to anybody. I don't care what religion it is. And even atheists aren't going to inherit it, because they're going to be worm food.
yeah, that's a good point, right? You got to understand also with atheists, they have this belief where, like, oh, well, everything that here is on earth is the end all be all, so you only have one life to live, or this and that. I mean, yeah, the atheists really are atheists until they start getting scared in a plane that is having a bit of some turbulence, and then they call on to Allah.
Even the most dogmatic of principled person isn't going to inherit a royal throne upon a promised land. Mortality is not synonymous with what's promised. So, unless you've been there and seen this, unless you've been to Israel, unless you've been to Iraq, unless you've been to Afghanistan, everything you're saying is hypothetical. And instead of you, from an experiential standpoint, actually listen to people, you would realize that my defense isn't of Jews. My defense is the right for Jews to survive and live just like every other person. And the moment that the
So I think what he's trying to say is that Israel right now is under attack, right? And they are under attack from all corners, whether it's Hamas, whether it's Iran, and their survival is at stake. Now, you could like that or you could hate that. That's the reality of it. But if you hate that, he's expressing his concern to what is going on right now.
Jews go ahead and decide to become the opposite of what they are right now, I will speak out against them too. I have no problem calling out.
So he's trying to say that if those people, okay, have mishaps as well, he'll call it out.
I have no problem calling out Jews. There have been people, the Groypers called into this show long before you did, who called out Hasidic Jews, and I said, I have no disagreement with you. None. But I also have a problem with Old Testament Christians too. Thank you very much. So no, I don't understand your takes, and I don't understand your standpoint at all. And I don't understand why you're calling me an entertainer. And I don't understand why you say that you know who I interact with or who I don't, or how many Jew friends I have or how many don't, or if I've been to Israel in the last 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years.
I addressed that already in the last video, if you want to check that out. But further on, before we get to the other topics of MMA,
None of that matters. You don't know anything about me.
he's right. I don't know. And well, again, I explained more of that in the last video, and no need to explain it here.
So do me a favor. When you're going to speak for me or speak on me, know what the fuck you're talking about. You're gonna, okay, you're gonna sit. You know what? I noticed you didn't say it. So this is the guy you're defending.
All right, so now he's pulling up some Jake Shields content.
This is your buddy. This is your hero. Jake Shields. That's your guy. Let's see. Is that your guy? Guy's using the word goyim. Was he a groiper? Nick Fuentes groiper? Are you a Fuentes groiper? Pray for Israel, somebody says. America first, bitch. Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't like Marjorie Taylor Greene, but wow. Iran is the principal obstacle to peace and stability in the Middle East. Israel.
So Jake Shields writes America first biatch towards Marjorie Taylor Greene when she says pray for Israel.
Is the
Okay.
principal obstacle to peace and stability in the Middle East. Tell me how. You love the guy. Tell me how Israel is the principle against peace in the Middle East. Please educate me. This is your boy, right? This is your boy. You know Jake. He just has a different opinion to me. Okay, tell me how Israel is stopping world peace. Educate me.
Well, that's Jake's own opinion, and there's a lot of people around the world that do feel that way.
To our Israel friends, we have your back standing you against Iran's terrorism. Tom Cotton. Here's Jake Shields, the guy who just disagrees with me. Hey, Tom, how about you go fuck yourself and suck more Zionist cock? Is that your boy? Is that your boy, Jake Shields? How about this one, Jake? Let's sit back and watch Iran and Israel blow each other up. Does anyone else agree? You know what's funny is that Jake Shields hides behind things like, let's say, out of war. And you know what? I agree with him. But Jake Shields has never been to war, has he? Jake Shields hasn't done anything of the kind. You guys have that in common. I see why you like it. And if the guy knew anything about war, he probably wouldn't speak on it. I think Jake Shields dishonors veterans. And he obviously feels that we're too stupid to understand what we fought for or what we got involved in. And that everything that the United States.
Well, look, to be honest, if you were to ask Jake Shields, I'm sure he would disagree with you and he'll tell you that he supports the troops like anybody else, supposedly, but yeah.
Has ever done is for a giant war machine and to save a nickel on a gallon of gas. I think it discredits who we are. I think it's disrespectful to say, if you don't go ahead and send your children to die for Jews, you're not a patriot. Wink, wink. I don't think that's okay. I don't think it's okay to say that for Iraqis. I don't think it would have been okay if we would have said it for Kuwaitis when we went and defend Kuwait. I don't think it was okay for Bosnians or Serbians.
So, in other words, what he's trying to say is that America has helped out other Muslim countries before, other countries that are Arab and non-Muslim alike, which he referenced Bosnia and America. I'm sorry, Bosnia and Kuwait and Iraq. So, in other words, he's trying to say that America, in its ethos, in his opinion, has been quite consistent in helping out everybody. It just so happens that he believes it's Israel's turn to be helped right now.
Or Syrians. I don't think it was okay for the Vietnamese. I don't think it was okay for Indochina and Laos. I don't think it was okay in Afghanistan. I don't think it was okay for the Greeks. I think you have a very small, minute understanding of the world. And I think you tried to put me in your little bubble. Keep me out of your fucking bubble. It does have everything. You just defended Jake Shields, dude. You just defended him. You just said Jake and I just have a different opinion. So you brought him into this conversation when I brought him up, that you remind me of him. And I must have been pretty spot on because you just owned him. You just put your claim on him. You wanted to run your dick all up and down and pee on him. You claim territory on Jake. Oh, we know each other, live next to him. We shower with each other and he washes my ass. You would have claimed him. I don't care that you're a Muslim. You being a Muslim isn't your problem. You're a cock. That's your problem. So there you go. I think you're a gripper. I really do. I think you're a remnant from Nick Fuentes' crew. And I think, honestly, truly, that your heart's in the right place, but your mind is so far up your ass that...
Yeah, I don't know who Nick Fuentes is, but obviously that's a guy that he compares me to because he's, I don't know, I guess, quote unquote, fundamental in his Christian, uh, patriotic beliefs of some sort. But
there's very little hope for you. I would rather have you come out and just be like, I don't like Jews. Just say it.
Yeah, but that's not the case. I don't think that you'd have to hate a people to just criticize a government.
Everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. So just say it. Just say it. It's okay. There's certain groups of people I don't like, and there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, you don't hate them. You don't want to see them die, but you don't like them.
Yeah, well, he's right about that. There are certain people that we just don't like. I don't know if there's certain groups or anything like that. I can't say that for myself, but yeah, he's right about that.
I don't know Nick. I say Nick Shields, Jake Shields, whatever. Dude, it's been a long fucking week. I don't know what you're talking about. You don't know Nick Fuentes? You're not a groiper? You know what? Jake Shields is. And you stood up for Jake Shields. All right, man, you got enough of my attention. Don't talk anymore. Just shut the fuck up and leave me alone. I'm done with you. I've already got a wife. I don't need another one. Just stop kissing my ass, bro. Stop telling me all these wonderful things. And, don't pee on me and tell me it's raining. Oh, Matt, you're so this, you're so that. And then...
Well, look, here's something that you don't understand, right? In the culture that we come from, obviously, you even mentioned it yourself in the intro to your show earlier. You said something to the effect of, well, I'm an old man, or this and that. Well, yes, that this is exactly why, I treat you with a certain level of respect because guess what? That's just what we do. We give respect to people that are of a certain age, right, and of a certain experience, and it's the proper thing to do. It's not kissing anyone's ass or anything, and just because the minute that they criticize you, that somehow they're talking behind your back. At least that's just not what's in my view. But remember this right here, okay?
I had a lot of people reach out to me and tell me that there was a reaction video from the weekend when I did the show on Israel and Iran, and I guess during my time of going after Kyrie a little bit,
Seem all right, but
he has
they're
his
not.
own YouTube channel. He decided to go ahead and respond. I don't care. I said what I wanted to say. I'm sure he said what he wanted to say. If it's going to carry on from there, he knows where I live, and I'm sure that if he took umbrage with it, that I'm a 50-year-old man, and let's see if youth wins. Otherwise, I don't take it any other way. He had some things to say. I had some things to say, and it's over. I talked a little shit. He talked some shit, and
There it is. That's why I understand that. Listen, that's all it is, right? Some people just come from cultures that respect their elders, and that's that.
Oh, Matt's an entertainer. Matt doesn't know any Jews. He doesn't live near any Jews. He lives in an all-white neighborhood.
Well, I never said that. What I'm merely trying to say is that there's a lot of them that I've worked with out here, and the ones that I've been friends with out here that are of Jewish and Israeli descent out here in Sacramento. There's plenty of them here. When I met them, I've never had a problem with them. I've never had any type of beef or animosity towards them. And that's really the reality of my anecdotal experience, and that's all that I really said. All that I'm merely saying is maybe I've ran across more Israelis than you have in the United States.
That's not what I said. My neighbor is Native American. I've got a fucking Iranian right here. I've got a Greek Orthodox right here. I got a black family right here.
But none of them are Jewish, which proves my point.
The fuck are you talking about? You don't even know where I live. How do you know? How do you know who lives near me? You and Jake just need to go wash each other vigorously. All right, folks, we're going to kick over to Fox just for a few more.
So again, that's what it is. And he probably doesn't know any of their names. Laughing. I mean, we don't know that, right? The bottom line is, none of them are the people that I had just mentioned to you right now, which is that, right? I mean, look, that's just all I'm saying is that I don't have a hate for anybody because I have experience running across these people, but that's really all it is. Which again is fine. It brings us back to this, basically ending the whole segment in that.
I'm moving on. So, well, and if he doesn't want to move on, he knows the number. He can call in, dial into the show. But I'm not going to go watch his video. I'm not going to go and hawk him down. He has every right to say what he wants to say, and I have every right to call him a jerk. And I did that. So he's a jerk. But it doesn't mean I don't love him. Doesn't mean I don't like him. I actually like the guy quite a bit. I think two-facedness is is not a good look on anybody. So that's it. Just that's all. It's over. And if it's not, we're gonna find out. You know my number. See ya.
There it is. So with that, yes, let's move on to the other topics of MMA. So I really just wanted to get that out there. It's entertaining. It's fun. Not only that, I think you learn a lot from it. And guess what? Guess what the name of his show is on YouTube and on Facebook? It's called "Don't Unfriend Me," right? And what is the concept of that show? Guess what? We all have different ideas. We all have different ways of looking at life. But hey, you don't have to unfriend me just based on the differing opinions that I have. And that's really all there is to it. So let's see, what else is there? Hey, if you guys saw today the Bivol versus Arthur press conference, I think we are now once again witnessing a different era of boxing because this is an undisputed fight. Not only that, you have an undisputed fight with Tyson Fury and Usyk coming up in May 18th, not too far away. And by the way, June is going to be stacked on top of that, right? You got UFC cards after another. You got 301, which is coming up in May. 302 is going to be in June, and 303 is going to be the Conor McGregor card, which is International Fight Week. And then before that, you have Tyson Fury and Usyk on June 1st. What you also have is a 5-on-5 Queensberry 5-on-5 challenge. Now, one of the fights that I thought was really interesting, moving on with this fight, is Amal Williams and Hamza Shiraz. Now, for those of you that don't know, I've done a show with Zain Musa Boxing. And in Zain Musa Boxing, he's covered Hamza Shiraz a lot. He's had press passes to go to his fights. He's embedded with his team. I keep in contact with all of his trainers on Facebook. I keep in contact with Hamza Shiraz as well on Facebook. He's seen my show, and especially the show that I did with Zain. So he's going to be fighting Amal Williams. This is great. These are two top prospects, right? Obviously, Hamza Shiraz is a top prospect in British boxing. Amal Williams is a top prospect in American boxing. And they're coming to collide with each other in their own perspective uh, promotions. Obviously, Matchroom. You have with Amal Williams representing Matchroom. And then you have Queensberry Promotions being represented by Hamza Shiraz. Who else? You got Deontay Wilder taking on Zhang Li Zhang. I'm sure you already talked about it, but yesterday the fight between Max and Justin was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Yeah, we can absolutely talk about that. And you know what? I guarantee you that fight is going to be talked about all the way up till the McGregor fight. That's how good that fight was, right? It's legendary. You got to think about this, right? If you were a psychic, remember Miss Cleo back in the 90s? I highly doubt she would have been able to predict a fight like that. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Now, if you are the best MMA picker or the guy that really has the best insight to MMA, I swear to you, you probably would not have been able to predicted that outcome. No way. There was absolutely no way you would have been able to predict that outcome. For the simple fact that, for one, Max is not a knockout artist, is he? He's not a knockout artist, but he hits you with volume. But this time he was the knockout artist. Now make that make sense, right? And he did it within just 1 second left. Usually, a situation like that, it's like the guy who gets knocked out would be deemed as a quitter. And we all know Justin Gaethje is not a quitter. So this is the reason why this is the greatest knockout ever, right? And you can't deny it as a result of that. So Max Holloway deserves his flowers for this particular fight, no doubt about it. That was movie stuff. Hiya Buddy 7 said, "Yeah, absolutely, Hiya Buddy." It look, even a movie director would not have been able to write a script like that because he would say to himself, "Man, you know what? This is absolute cap. This is exaggeration to the fullest extent. There is no way this would have ever happened in real life." So understand, yeah, this is the reality of fights like this, right? So what was this? It's funny, like someone can talk a bunch of trash, then you do something to them that they pretty much ask for them, and you got to sit down for a little bit. Huh, okay. Yeah, that was a comment by 300NJ for the video that I did with Jake Shields, and yeah, the guy that I was doing a reaction to. Obviously, this is like the part three for that particular thing. So yeah, man, best card ever. And you know what? Just like what I said to Dubs, right? I'm the guy that recommended this to Dubs, and this is what he said. I'm the guy that recommended this to Dubs, and this is what he said.
Hey, Kyrie was the one that told me that I had to watch UFC 300, so I paid the $80, and I had fun. Hey, Holmes, you know what?
Yep, there it is. I'm out there recommending big channels, some big fights. And guess what? Did it deliver? It sure did. It definitely delivered. So, going back to hype, right? That's what you got to do. You got all these channels now mentioning me. They're all big channels, by the way, right? Obviously, I'm a smaller channel. That's what you got to do. You got to build hype for yourself. Sometimes you got to go out there and ruffle a few feathers, make some enemies, and that's just what you got to do in order to garner a certain level of attention. And then after that, one attention leads one to another. And the next thing you know, you got five people looking at you. Next thing you know, five becomes 15, and then 15 becomes 1,000, 100, hundreds of thousands, and then it accumulates. That's just what you got to do. But either way, what else is in these particular topics? So, yeah, that is the hype that you get out of Amanda Nunes and Kayla Harrison. That's a fight that definitely needs to happen. So, let's see here. What were some other things that I had mentioned here that we're going to talk about? So, Conor McGregor, we've talked about Bivol and Arthur Beterbiev. The press conference announcement for the 5-on-5. Obviously, Deontay Wilder is in that as well. Daniel Dubois is in that. Oh, yeah, you were saying something about Wilder. Yeah, Wilder is fighting that Chinese guy. So if he gets beat by that Chinese guy, then, man, he's really going to have to rethink about his career in this one, right? This is one of those do or die situations, I guess, for Deontay Wilder. Arthur Beterbiev and Bivol, that one, I think they're going to challenge for a cruiserweight title in whoever wins that one because it's already an undisputed. If you went undisputed in one weight class, where else do you go from there? Right? That's really all there is to it. Like, where do you go from there? You go up and you fight for another undisputed championship belt. And just like Max Holloway, right? Because he's the star of this whole entire show with UFC 300, right? Where does he go from here? Well, he has a chance to go to 145, fight for the belt. By the way, with a new champion, and he could fight at 155 because he just knocked out a top contender. By the way, Justin Gaethje really risked his number one contender spot for this one. Really risked it. I mean, really. Like, he didn't need to be here, but he did. He showed up, and as a result, well, Max Holloway sort of took that spot a little bit. So for now, I think that's all that we really have for this particular content in this particular time. We've gone over everything. I effing love Poirier, my favorite fighter, but Max needs to get back next. Oh, so you know what? Before I go, yeah, you know what? Let's talk about Dustin Poirier and Islam Makhachev for a little bit. I think I had mentioned that it's good that they're putting this in neutral territory in New Jersey. I also think that it's been a long time coming since New Jersey had their pay-per-view card. I know that Dan Hardy and George St. Pierre fought there in 2010, and then ever since then, other fights have gone on in the Prudential Center. This is going to be a big classic fight as well with Islam Makhachev and Dustin Poirier. I mentioned in the last live stream earlier today, I believe, that I think this fight is going to be a lot harder for Islam than it was for Khabib because Dustin Poirier is highly improved since the Khabib fight. And Islam Makhachev, he's highly improved, but I think that I can still see Dustin Poirier present problems. But honestly, I see Dustin Poirier getting out of this one with a loss to Islam Makhachev by via decision. Hard fight, but still winnable for Islam Makhachev. And with Conor McGregor, if he loses this one, I think a lot of people are really going to question his career and even himself. He's going to question where his career is going to be. I would not be surprised if this becomes a retirement fight for Conor McGregor. So mark this down, right? Especially in this stream right now, we're looking at 1 hour and 7 minutes and 40 seconds of some sort, right? Where I had mentioned that if Conor McGregor loses this next fight, he's going to retire. So let's bookmark this. On the 1 minute and 8 second point of this live stream, if Conor McGregor loses to Michael Chandler, he's going to retire. Dustin might get a guillotine, almost Khabib got him with. You mean he might finish him? No, I don't think so because I think at this point, Dustin Poirier has become very predictable with the guillotine, and you know that he's going to come and slap it on you. And you know that you're going to have to get out of it, and yeah, you're going to find different ways to get out of it. You're going to prepare for it. Khabib is going to prepare him for it because Khabib knows what it was like, and he's going to shoot his takedowns a little bit differently. He may do it using trips through the cage rather than shooting in for a single or double leg as a result. So be on the lookout for that. But with Conor McGregor, if he was to win, here's what I see with Conor McGregor if he was to win this fight. I think what you get is a Max Holloway BMF card. That's what you're going to get out of it. So I think that's all that we have for this particular topic right now. We've covered a little bit of everything. We covered Conor McGregor. We obviously covered the press conference that happened today in London for the Bibble versus Arthur card and the 5-on-5 Queensberry versus Matchroom card. We talked about the various channels that have been mentioning me. I'm going to play it again for you guys. This is Dubs, the channel on YouTube doing a lot of prison content. A guy that served life, got out, and guess what? He's one of the supporters of my channel. So you should be too. And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Kyrie was the one that told me that I had to watch UFC 300, so I paid the $80, and I had fun. Hey, Holmes, you know what? Hey, that fight between the two Chinese women, oh, that motherfucker was
Now,
hard.
how about that, right? Before we go, how about that fight with Wei Li Zhang? I mean, she choked out Yan, and in between, Yan was given some sort of help by the commission. And I don't know, maybe because they don't consider a choke the type of I don't know, man, that's weird. Maybe because the referee was never in that position where they had to help somebody that was unconscious after technically not getting submitted in between the rounds. But yeah, anyways, that's all that we have. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hope to see you guys soon, and I will see you guys on the next content, inshallah.